We have arrived at your destination. Have a nice day. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my review of yet another of this year's most anticipated titles, Battlefield 3. Let's not waste any time and get straight into it. The story in Battlefield 3 revolves around the game's primary protagonist, Sergeant Henry Blackburn. For reasons untold, Blackburn is being interrogated by two military officials about his actions leading up to the interview. As Blackburn tells his story, the players will play out a series of flashbacks taking control of not only Blackburn but several other individuals that had either a direct or indirect impact on the events that took place. Now, to begin with, I found the story to be very cliche and unoriginal, appearing to have borrowed heavily from other games. Additionally, the characters just seemed to be bland and poorly developed, therefore I cared very little about them. For these reasons, initially I found the story to be quite uninteresting and I had a hard time being drawn into it. However, towards the end of the narrative, something happened. I actually started to care about the story, about Blackburn, about everything. It was as if the story had finally got its shit together and it had me playing right through to the conclusion. Having said that, however, because it happened in the latter stages of the game, one could argue that it's a bit too little too late, and I'd tend to agree. As for most of the campaign, the story really served little purpose other than moving the game along. The single-player campaign in Battlefield 3 will have players fighting against a global threat across a range of different locations and utilising a range of different avenues of assault. Players will fight on foot for the majority of the campaign, but will also find themselves shooting enemy bogies out of the sky in a fighter jet as well as taking it to the enemy in a tank. These vehicle segments served well at breaking up the running and gunning, and the resulting variety managed to keep me going. However, I will say that in my opinion, the segment that has you in the jet is cool at first but quickly became boring as you weren't actually flying it, but merely shooting down enemy jets as you were told to.
Do a barrel roll!
No can do.
Do a barrel roll!
I can't, I'm not in control of the jet.
Do a barrel roll!
I just said it's physically impossible, the game won't allow it.
Do a barrel—
Fuck off! Not to mention that the bulk of the remainder of that particular mission just had a been there, done that feel to it. The aforementioned on-foot segments, which comprised the majority of the game, worked very well for the most part. As in other first-person shooters, you basically progress through a series of linear missions that are chock full of enemy encounters. But because Battlefield 3 has players fighting through a variety of different locations and situations using a variety of different weaponry, every mission feels distinctively different from the last, and therefore there is rarely an instance of deja vu. Sprinkled throughout the campaign are several first-person hand-to-hand encounters that players will have with a variety of enemies. These involve players simply following a series of on-screen button prompts in order to engage their on-screen foes. This idea seemed cool at first, but rapidly became meaningless, annoying, and repetitive, often unnecessarily breaking the flow of the game. Take this epic battle for example.
Oh my fucking god, epic!
Combine what I said previously with the fact that sometimes the sound doesn't quite sync up with the visuals properly, and they can be a mess. When it comes to the game's AI, the enemies are a mix between ridiculously challenging and fucking retarded. The latter occasion entails enemies that will stand out in the open, allowing you to take them out easily, or they'll crouch behind what they believe to be cover only to remain completely exposed. The former version of enemy AI is far more intelligent and will take effective cover and even flank your position on occasion. And this sounds like a pretty decent and enjoyable challenge, doesn't it? Well, it would be if the enemies didn't outright ignore your squad mates and aim solely for you, and if they didn't have the ridiculous ability to literally hit you with an entire clip of ammunition from a ridiculously long distance or through clouds of smoke and dust the moment you stick your head out from behind cover. Sadly, these things occur several times throughout the campaign and quickly elevate challenging to downright infuriating on some occasions. Ally AI is good for the most part, often taking an active role in mission objectives and firefights. However, they too can be idiotic at times, either running directly into your line of fire, sometimes causing you to fail due to friendly fire, or they'll be completely oblivious to an enemy standing right next to them. Additionally, when it came to actually shooting the enemies, I ran into a few occasions where there seemed to be some hit detection issues, in which I'd clearly hit an enemy with a barrage of bullets and have absolutely nothing happen. Battlefield 3 also includes a strong emphasis on indestructible environments. These not only look awesome but are also fun to use strategically by either destroying an enemy's cover or blowing a hole in a wall and making your own. The fun here is that enemies can and will do the exact same thing, and therefore you'll need to think on your feet to stay out of trouble. This adds a sense of urgency to nearly every skirmish and helps to further immerse you into the action. The single player campaign lasted me about 6 to 7 hours, and although I felt satisfied and enjoyed myself, I don't at all feel compelled to complete it again. But let's be honest here, the majority of gamers that would have bought this game would have been almost exclusively looking at the multiplayer component of Battlefield 3. And yes, it delivers and is easily the best aspect of the game. Battlefield 3 provides players with all the popular modes that we have come to expect from a Battlefield title. Fan favourites Conquest and Rush mode have returned, and as always place a large emphasis on teamwork to complete the objectives and win the match. For the not so teamy players, Team Deathmatch has also been implemented into the game to allow two teams to duke it out in a series of smaller maps until the winning score is reached. As players compete, they will unlock a variety of new weapons, weapon attachments and abilities which can be used either offensively or defensively depending on one's playstyle. It's your standard stuff, but if it ain't broken then why fix it, and Battlefield's multiplayer certainly isn't broken. Quite the contrary in fact, as it's likely going to have you playing for hours. The graphical presentation throughout Battlefield 3 is outstanding. Thanks to the new Frostbite 2 engine, the game features sprawlingly detailed environments ranging from city streets to forests and deserts. Not only that, but Battlefield 3 also features several jaw-droppingly stunning set pieces that seem so true to life that it's scary. The lighting and dust effects were fantastic, there was a great attention to detail on character models, weapons and vehicles, and as aforementioned, the game's destructible environments were handled brilliantly. And I should mention that this was all on the Xbox 360, and therefore I could imagine that it would look even better on the PC. However, such great visuals did come with a cost, and as such I encountered several issues throughout my experience. Issues such as minor frame rate drops, a lot of texture pop-in, and the previously mentioned audio-visual syncing issues are a few examples of what I encountered. And in some cases the audio cut out completely for a brief moment, which was disappointing to say the least. But many of these flaws can be easily overlooked when one takes into account not only the game's gorgeous visuals, but also the epic soundtrack, realistic and very satisfying sound effects, and some passable voice acting. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Battlefield 3. An epically large-scale team-based online multiplayer experience coupled with a semi-decent single-player campaign, both of which presented via some truly stunning visuals and top-notch sound quality with minimal issues. I'd recommend Battlefield 3 to any shooter fan out there and to any gamer looking for a rich and lengthy multiplayer experience. If however you're more of a single-player fan and have little to no interest in the multiplayer, then maybe give it a rental first. And that concludes my Battlefield 3 review, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts, people? Did you get Battlefield 3? Did you like it? Not like it? I want to know, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And as always, be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.